Isaac Newton is credited with having said, "If I have seen further, it is only because I have been standing on the shoulders of giants." And I love this quote because it illustrates exactly what mentorship is. Hi, my name is Veronica Harrison. I'm a junior at Meredith College, and today I will be presenting Matchmakers, a comprehensive review of optimal mentorship pairing criteria. Or an alternate title could be How to Choose Your Giant. First, I'll give you an overview of what mentoring is. Mentoring is a type of professional relationship where a more experienced person, the mentor, acts as a giant on whose shoulders a less experienced person or protege can stand. There are two primary forms of support within a mentorship. There's instrumental functions. These are like the nuts and bolts of mentoring. These are the functions that the protege cannot do for themselves, that they need the mentor to do for them. Things such as sponsorship or advocating for the mentor in places of higher leadership that the protege would not have access to. Nomination for the protege for challenging or higher level assignments to develop their skills. Valuable professional feedback that the protege may not receive anywhere else. Now, the psychosocial functions are the more softer relational functions of mentorship. These include things like network sharing, where the mentor will allow the protege access to their professional contacts. Public acceptance of the protege helps their assimilation into the organization or department. And then the typical support, guidance, advice, and coaching that you would expect to get from a mentor. The third function of mentoring is role modeling, where the observation of the mentor demonstrates to the protege the professional norms and behaviors that are expected of them within the organization. Mentoring can be informal, where the protege personally selects their mentor, but more typically it is provided by a formally constructed program where the mentor is selected for them. From the conclusion of hundreds of studies, we know that mentoring is a great process. It has many benefits for the protege, but also for the mentor and the organization itself. People who have been mentored typically perform better at work or in academics. They have higher life satisfaction than those who have not been mentored. However, there is a researcher by the name of Lillian Eby and her team at the University of Georgia who have done extensive research on negative mentoring experiences. They conclude that having a negative mentoring experience can affect the protege to such a degree that it is as if they had never been mentored at all. This phenomenon is where I began. I asked two simple questions. Where is this dissatisfaction with mentoring coming from, and how do we fix it? From my reconnaissance review, I concluded that the dissatisfaction was mostly coming from mismatch within the dyad itself. In other words, the protege is not feeling compatible with their giant. If the problem is mismatch within the dyad, then the obvious solution would be to pair the mentor and protege using some criteria of similarity that would reduce this incompatibility. Suitable criteria could be race, gender, personality composition, but how do we know which of these criteria variables will lead to the best outcomes? And this was the question that my research focused on. I wanted to investigate the optimal dyad pairing criteria as it relates to the outcomes of satisfaction and levels of mentoring received. So I conducted a comprehensive research review using the framework of a scoping review put forth by Arksy and Malley in 2005. A scoping review maps a large amount of literature around a central theme. I searched databases for terms such as mentor matching, dyad pairing, protege similarity, and the like. My inclusion criteria for my articles were that they had to be peer-reviewed studies that were published between 2000 and 2020, because I wanted the most accurate, up-to-date data. They had to feature adult mentoring programs that took place within a workplace or academic setting. They had to be using quantitative or mixed methods designs, because I wanted to use validated scales of measurement for my focus variables. I identified 32 articles that met my inclusion criteria, and I analyzed these further for patterns and themes. The findings were mixed. There was no single type of similarity criteria that was found to be most optimal in achieving successful outcomes. Rather, the type of similarity within the dyad seemed to have an effect on the type and amount of mentoring functions that were received. For instance, similarity of race or ethnicity or gender was found to lead to greater levels of psychosocial support functions being received by the protege. whereas deep level similarity of attitudes, beliefs, and values led to greater amounts of instrumental functions being received by the protege. Lack of consensus within these studies is not actually a flaw, it is a feature. It means that the mentoring process is working exactly as it should, that it is a tailored, individualized experience that will look different from person to person. While that makes data analysis difficult, it's a good thing for the protege. The main takeaway from my research is this factor of salience. Salience is the level of importance that an individual gives to a particular element. While it is true that the research indicated that females and males both greatly preferred and seemed to benefit most from being paired by gender, it cannot be assumed that each protege finds their gender to be of greatest importance to them. Also, while it is true that the research indicated that pairing by similar racial or ethnic identity increased the interpersonal comfort within the dyad, especially for women and people of color, we cannot assume that one's race or ethnicity is of greatest importance to them. What the repeated theme of salience indicates is that mentoring programs must do more to incorporate protege input into the process. To this end, I created a theoretical model for how the mentor matching process could take place. The preliminary step would be to ask the protege which primary mentoring function was most important to them. Are they most in need of psychosocial functioning or instrumental functions? This doesn't imply that they will not receive the other function. However, that the primary function would be dominant and the other one would be supportive or secondary. From there, the mentors who are best suited to provide the desired function would be matched with the protege according to whatever criteria the protege finds most salient to them. If race or ethnicity matters greatly to them, then by all means, they should be paired in this way. The same for gender or deep level similarity. It isn't about what is best for the organization or most convenient for the program manager. After all, if you're going to stand on somebody's shoulders, shouldn't you get to decide whose shoulders those will be? Thank you for attending my presentation. I will be available for questions or comments.